Have you ever looked around and realized everything in your life seems fine, yet something inside feels unbearably hollow? You have a decent job, friends, maybe even a partner. But there's a quiet ache, an emptiness you can't explain. You laugh when you're supposed to, smile in photos, say the right things in meetings. But deep down, a question whispers relentlessly. Is this really me, or just the version of me the world accepts? Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to navigate society. It helps us survive, but often at the cost of who we really are. You see, most of us are taught to become what others expect, not who we're truly meant to be. We trade authenticity for acceptance, passion for practicality, soul for safety. And over time, that trade begins to hurt. There's a name for this pain, the ache of the unlived life. It's not depression, not quite. It's more subtle, like a longing that never sleeps, a feeling that your soul is somewhere far ahead of your body, waiting for you to catch up. You start to feel it at night, when the noise quiets down and you're left alone with your own thoughts. You wonder, is this all there is? And maybe you've even felt guilty for feeling that way, because on paper your life is fine. But fine is not what you came here for. Jung believed that true peace doesn't come from fitting in, it comes from becoming. Not becoming more successful, but becoming more you. And that journey begins with a question most people are afraid to ask. Who am I really when no one is watching? If this hits something inside you, stay with me. Because in the next part, we'll talk about the piece of yourself you've been hiding, and why meeting it might be the beginning of your freedom. So I'll ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life? Comment. I've felt it too, if this speaks to you. Let's keep walking inward, together. There's a moment in every person's life when you look in the mirror and feel like a stranger is staring back. You see your eyes, your face, your expressions, but something deeper feels off, as if behind the smile lurks a storm you've been trying to silence for years. Carl Jung called that unseen storm the shadow, everything you repress, deny, or try to disown. It's the anger you bottle up to look calm, the envy you suppress to appear kind, the fear you hide behind achievements, and the guilt you drown in distractions. The shadow isn't evil, it's wounded. It's the part of you that wasn't loved when it showed its true face, so it learned to hide behind perfection, politeness, performance. But it doesn't disappear. In fact, the more you ignore it, the louder it screams, in your relationships, your reactions, your regrets. Ever lost your temper and surprised yourself? Ever judged someone harshly, only to realize you were projecting? That's the shadow, slipping through the cracks. Jung believed healing doesn't come from pretending to be pure. It comes from looking into the mirror and having the courage to say, yes, that's me too. Because here's the truth. You cannot become whole by loving only your light. You must learn to sit with your darkness, to cradle it like a wounded child, to ask it, what are you trying to protect? That's not weakness, that's power. Imagine how different your life would be if you stopped running from your rage and listened to its message. If you stopped judging your jealousy and asked what it's craving. If you embraced your shadow instead of fearing it. The shadow doesn't need to be defeated. It needs to be integrated. And when you do that, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself and start becoming yourself. So let me ask you, what part of yourself have you been hiding the longest? Comment below, even just one word. Because naming it is the first step toward freedom. In the next part, we'll talk about what happens when life cracks you open, and why that breaking might be the beginning of something sacred. There comes a point in life when everything you've built begins to crumble. The job, the relationship, the carefully curated image, all start to feel brittle. And then it happens. Something breaks. A betrayal. A loss. A moment of unbearable silence, and suddenly you're no longer who you thought you were. It feels like collapse. But Jung saw it differently. He said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Pain is not the end. It's the door. You see, most people think a breakdown is failure. But in truth, it's the psyche refusing to carry the weight of a false life any longer. It's your soul saying, I can't pretend anymore. In that moment, when you feel like you're losing everything, you might just be meeting yourself for the first time. The masks fall, the noise fades, and what's left is raw, real, and terrifying, but also sacred, because that's when the real work begins, not of fixing, but of finding, not of rebuilding the same walls, but of asking, what was I hiding behind them in the first place? Think about it. What if your breakdown isn't a breakdown at all, but a breakthrough? What if the pain is a compass, pointing you back to the parts of yourself you abandoned to survive? This is what Jung called individuation. Not becoming better, becoming whole. So if you're in that dark place right now, if your life feels like it's falling apart, pause. You're not broken. You're breaking open. You are being invited to become who you were always meant to be. So tell me, what has life taken from you? That might just be freeing you. Comment below. You're not alone in this. Next, we'll explore the journey inward and what it really means to become you. What if your life's purpose isn't out there to be found, but in here, waiting to be remembered? Carl Jung believed that every soul carries a blueprint, a unique path toward becoming whole. He called this path individuation, not success, not self-improvement, but something deeper, something sacred. Individuation is the lifelong journey of becoming who you truly are, by integrating all parts of yourself, even the ones you were told to hide. It starts when you realize you've been living someone else's script, the job you chose, the way you speak, even the way you love. Was it truly you? Or the version of you that kept others comfortable? Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But here's the catch. To do that, you'll have to disappoint a few people. You'll have to lose the approval you never really needed. You'll have to face the parts of you that feel like strangers and learn to make peace. It's not a straight path. It's messy, slow, and often painful. You'll feel lost. You'll question everything. You'll mourn the person you used to pretend to be. But then, something beautiful happens. You start choosing things that feel right in your bones, even if they make no sense on paper. You start saying no to what drains you, and yes to what lights you up. You stop performing and start being. That's individuation. It's not about changing who you are. It's about removing what you are not. And as you walk this path, you'll notice something shift. Life begins to feel lighter. Not because it's easier, but because you're no longer carrying the weight of being someone else. So let me ask you, what's one thing in your life that doesn't feel true to you anymore? Share it, even if it's just with yourself. That's how the journey begins. In the next part, we'll explore how your unconscious tries to guide you through symbols, stories, and dreams that speak louder than words. Have you ever had a dream that felt like a message, something strange, surreal, but somehow deeply personal? Jung believed dreams weren't just mental noise. They were sacred whispers from the unconscious, trying to tell you what your waking self refuses to see. You see, your conscious mind is a filter. It edits, it rationalizes, it keeps things safe. But your unconscious, it tells the truth. And it does so in symbols. A locked door, a collapsing house, a child you've never met, a storm chasing you. These aren't random. They're metaphors sent by your psyche to reveal what's hidden beneath your surface. Jung once said, The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. Through dreams, your soul speaks. It might show you your fear, not to frighten you, but to free you. It might bring back someone you lost, not as a ghost, but as a mirror. It might replay a mistake, not to shame you, but to show where healing begins. And when you start listening, really listening, you begin to notice patterns, themes, clues. It's like piecing together a map to the parts of you you've ignored, forgotten, or exiled. This is the unconscious inviting you home. So how do you understand these messages? Not with logic, but with curiosity. Ask, what emotion did I feel in that dream? What might this symbol represent in my life right now? What is my soul trying to tell me? You don't need a degree in psychology. You need courage to sit with the unknown and let it speak. So the next time you wake up from a vivid dream, don't brush it aside. Write it down. Feel into it. Ask it what it wants you to know. Because your unconscious is not working against you. It's working for your healing. So I'll ask you, have you had a dream that never left you? Share a piece of it below. It might be trying to tell you something important. Next, we'll dive into two powerful forces inside you, your inner masculine and feminine, and how they shape your choices, desires, and relationships. Have you ever felt torn between what you should do and what your soul longs for? Between logic and intuition, control and surrender, strength and softness? Carl Jung believed that each of us carries both masculine and feminine energies, regardless of gender. He called them the animus and anima. The animus, the inner masculine, embodies logic, reason, structure, clarity. It helps you take action, speak up, draw boundaries. The anima, the inner feminine, brings emotion, intuition, creativity, and flow. It helps you feel, connect, receive. And the dance between these two shapes how you live, love, and lead. But here's the catch. Most of us are taught to favor one and suppress the other. Men are often taught to reject the feminine. Don't feel too much. Be strong. Be rational. Never be vulnerable. Women are often taught to mute the masculine. Don't be too direct. Stay agreeable. Don't shine too bright. The result? Imbalance. We either become too hard or too porous, too driven or too passive, disconnected from a vital part of who we are. And that disconnect shows up everywhere. In relationships that feel one-sided, in careers that drain our essence, in choices that don't feel aligned, even if they look successful. Individuation, becoming whole, means healing that split. It means honoring both energies within. It's choosing clarity and compassion, discipline and desire, power and presence. Because you were never meant to be one or the other. You were meant to be a living harmony. And when these energies reunite inside you, you begin to feel a deeper sense of integrity. Not perfect, not always balanced, but real. So I'll ask you this. Which side of you have you neglected? The one that feels, or the one that acts? Reflect on that, because integration begins with awareness. In the next part, we'll explore what it really means to be whole, and why it's not about being flawless, but about embracing every sacred contradiction inside you. What if the goal of life was never to be perfect, not flawless, not always right, not endlessly composed, but whole? Carl Jung believed the true path to healing wasn't in erasing your flaws, but in embracing your contradictions. He said, "I'd rather be whole than good." That's a radical idea. In a world obsessed with self-optimization, you're told to fix yourself, to hustle, improve, upgrade, until you're finally enough. But here's the thing. You're not a project. You're a person. And wholeness means making room for every part of you, the fierce and the tender, the confident and the scared, the light, and the shadow. Integration is the process of welcoming it all, not just the parts that are easy to love, but the ones that make you flinch, the ones that whisper shame, the ones you swore you'd outgrow. Because those parts are not mistakes. They are messengers. Each fear reveals where you long to feel safe. Each outburst shows where your boundaries were crossed. Each regret contains a lesson your soul is aching to learn. And when you stop exiling those parts, when you say, "I see you, I hear you, you belong here too," something changes. You stop judging yourself, you stop performing, you start breathing deeper, sleeping better, loving more honestly. You become real. And that's the kind of peace no perfection could ever buy. So here's the truth. You don't need to be more. You need to remember who you already are. So I'll ask you, what part of yourself are you still trying to fix that might just need to be accepted? Comment with one word. Let's normalize being real, not perfect. In the next part, we'll talk about how facing your deepest shadows isn't the end of you. It's your rebirth. There's a moment in every healing journey when you reach the darkest part, the part where everything hurts, where nothing makes sense, where you'd give anything to turn back. But that is the moment of rebirth. Carl Jung believed that confronting the shadow, the most feared, hidden parts of ourselves, is the only way to truly transform. He called it the night sea journey, a descent into the unconscious, where the ego breaks and the soul begins to speak. It's not pretty, it's not poetic, it's terrifying, because the shadow holds everything we've denied, grief we never cried, desires we were shamed for, truths we weren't ready to see. But Jung didn't fear the shadow. He honored it. He saw it as the source of power, creativity, and truth. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You don't heal by avoiding pain. You heal by moving through it, gently, honestly, with presence. Like an alchemist, you turn the raw material of suffering into gold, not by changing what happened, but by letting it change you. This is the death of the false self and the birth of the real one. It's messy, it's sacred, it's yours, and you emerge, not perfect, but whole, not fearless, but free. So if you're standing at the edge of your own shadow, don't run. Look it in the eyes. Ask it what it wants you to know. Then walk forward, not despite your fear, but with it as your teacher, because the real you has been waiting there all along. So I'll ask you this. What part of your shadow are you ready to face? Not to fight, but to finally understand. Drop one word below. Let this be the beginning. In the final part, we'll come full circle, and I'll share a message for every soul that's ever felt lost on this path. To the one who feels like they've been wandering forever, who's taken wrong turns, fallen into silence, and wondered more than once, will I ever feel whole again? This is for you. Carl Jung believed that what looks like chaos is often the beginning of deep order, that what feels like being lost is actually your soul reorienting itself. He said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." Maybe the path you were on wasn't yours. Maybe the things you were chasing never really fed you. Maybe what felt like failure was your truth trying to break through. You are not broken. You are in between who you were told to be and who you're becoming. Between the mask and the mirror. You are not behind, not too late, not starting over. You are awakening, and every tear you've cried in secret, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, every part of you you've doubted, hated, hidden, it all matters. Because becoming yourself isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. You come back to the same places, but each time you're different. Wiser, softer, stronger. So take a breath. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the pressure. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Not lost. Not failing. Becoming. And when it's hard, come back to this truth. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to keep walking. With curiosity, with compassion, with courage. So I'll ask you, one last time. What truth about yourself are you finally ready to honor? Share it below. Let's build a space where healing is holy, and becoming is enough. And if this journey spoke to you, pass it on. There's someone else out there who needs to remember they're not alone.